A new player on the large EV sedan market is the Genesis G80 Ev. Here with Thomas on Autogefühl for you. How good is it actually and how does it compete against the competitors? Let's go! The Genesis G80 is somewhat like a Korean Mercedes E-Class, and usually it also comes as a combustion engine, has an open front grille, but here it's all the way closed in its EV version, still a striking look. Sometimes people mistake the design and also the logo for a Bentley. What's your take on that? Here, horizontal design for the daytime running, like overall a very strong design in the front here and looks really high class, doesn't it? Well, usually I am running into the shot in the side profile. This time the car rolls into the shot because this is this remote parking feature. Really interesting. You can use it with the key fob and then getting it in and out of some very narrow parking lots, for example. Let's open it and the side mirrors come up. Yeah, it's about 5 meters or 197 inches in the length, full-size sedan, a really beautiful silhouette here indeed. In this case, this G80 EV is also equipped with the solar roof, and they promise up to a surplus range of 1,000 kilometers or 600 miles per year when the car is in the sun frequently. And the EV always comes with 19-inch wheels. A clean design here also at the rear with the horizontal stress of the tail lamps. So overall, I think a very, very elegant design for this vehicle. Top speed here of the EV version is 225 kilometers an hour or 140 miles per hour. Does this go even a little bit faster? Well, we are going to find out today on the German Autobahn test indeed. 4.9 seconds is the acceleration figure. That's quicker even than the 3.5 liter 6-cylinder you can get on the combustion side. All-wheel drive, one electric motor in the rear or on the rear axle and one in the front. Is there a frunk? No, there is not. But it looks quite fancy under the hood, doesn't it? And the charging port for that 87 kilowatt-hour battery is here. Behind the grille, hidden. Interesting, right? With quick DC charging. And thanks to the 800 volt architecture, it works in about 21 minutes to charge from 10 to 80% state of charge. That is super quick. Door closing sound. Beautiful, very solid. But this one here is also equipped with the soft close. Seating position, basically the seat is comfortable, but there's a big catch to that. Because of this EV version here, they put the batteries in the floor and then you do lose height here in the whole interior. So the seating is a little bit off if you compare it to the G80 combustion engine where it was super comfortable. I feel that I'm somehow sitting higher, and with 1.89 meters or 6'2", I'm almost, having, like my head into the ceiling here. That's really weird. Headroom still works though, yes. But, I feel that I'm actually higher than the top of the windshield. So, and this is, almost a deal breaker for the EV version for tall people, actually. Steering wheel, up and down, electric way. That's easy and nicely done. Yeah, if you're not as tall as me, it might not be a problem. But, this is really rare that we have still these differences between ICE and between ICE and EV versions, that you really sit differently. As for the seats, they look quite luxurious, but here in the EV version, only available with animal skin, that is so yesterday, the combustion engines, they do offer a high-grade leatherette. Why not here? Interior overview, elegant design, nice matte wood here, that looks amazing indeed. 14.9-inch, super wide spread screen indeed, 12.3-inch instruments. The steering wheel looks a little bit too traditional to me from that form. I think a little bit more modern would have been better in that case. And very important, manual climate unit. Here we go. So easy to control it while driving. Real haptic feedback. I love that. Here the vent strength in the screen, but that's actually fairly easy to do. And here, for example, also the cooled or the heated seats and the heated steering wheel. And some real hotkeys here above that. So that's good to have that. A little bit further down below, here's like this open, good quality that feels really nice. USB-A charging for your smartphone, but also inductive charging would be possible, but you need a cable for the CarPlay or Android Auto. And then here, home button, for example, menu button for the top infotainment screen. You can control it also here, but that's so flat and you can't really touch it like this hardly. It doesn't feel that good. you press it on the inside to change something. I think they would rather need something like this for the infotainment system, but they try to differentiate these. But in the GV60, they already found a solution that you can still have something better to grab here. This is then the gear selection here for driving, neutral, reverse, or then parking. And on the right side, beautiful matte wood structure once again for the adaptive cup holders. And this is the drive mode button then. Middle console here has a split opening and then some more space underneath and a 12-volt power supply. Let's take a look at the infotainment. You usually control it from below. You can also use the touch, but it's a far reach from the driving position. This is the Apple CarPlay and Auto integration, and this Lexicon sound system also makes for a very nice true sound. I really like that indeed. And as I said, you can also go back to the home menu like this. This is a nice screensaver, by the way. If you go here, that looks pretty beautiful. But controlling it while driving, as I said, with the problem that you always, turn it that flatly, it's not the easiest thing to do. What's interesting here in the EV view, here, for example, you can also access information to the solar roof, and we can see it has already generated almost 39 kilowatt hours. So like almost half of the battery of one full battery charge. So it does bring you something back depending on how often your car is actually standing outside in the sun. Digital instruments, they switch according to the driving mode. Here, for example, in the sports mode, or there's also the eco mode, reduced throttle input then. And you can change at least some of the contents on the inside, but actually not too much. What's rather interesting is that when you use the turning indicators, you have then here this camera view also for turning, an additional blind spot warning, so to speak. And you can also get a head-up display. Rear seating is quite cozy, but you don't have too much legroom considering the length of the vehicle, and the recess would only work when you would have the seat a little bit higher, so not ideal as for the usage. And also here in the rear you lose headroom if you compare it to the combustion engine. Here, it directly fits, but I don't have any space above my head, and I did have with the combustion engine model. And you also feel that it's your feet a little bit higher. You see this angle here. So big drawback here for the EV version of this vehicle indeed. And well, it's quite cool that you have the shades here, for example, in the rear. These manual shades here, like this, to another protection against the sun. They are quite hard to put up again though. In the middle part, seating is not that ideal. And you can also have this executive seating here on the other side. This is also a practical thing that you can move then here the co-driver seat forward for that, for example, from here with these separated buttons. And then you can make yourself even more space in here on this side. That's actually a quite cool thing to have. And then you have plenty of space. Here, this middle part, you can also fold down. And then you have this additional console, for example, also for seat heating, some more space here, USB-C charging. And you also have this rear seat entertainment system, which is then kind of mirroring what you can also see in the front. You can access the map and so on. A very cool feature here with Hyundai, Genesis, Kia vehicles is, a lot of models have it now, you approach the vehicle with the key in your pocket only, and you don't have to use a foot kick opening mechanism. You just stand still here and the take it opens then. That's a very practical thing. But there is a catch to this EV also with the trunk. You lose 70 liters if you compare it to the combustion engine version. Here, cabin trolley vertical weight does fit. You have about a meter or 40 inches in length. In width here, it's here a meter or 40 inches, a little bit wider here and then a little bit narrower there. But here you see this large step here. So considering you have such a big vehicle with such a tiny trunk, disappointing then. Charging cable, and underneath is some more space, but not too much. Thomas's driving lounge with the G80 Ev. We'll put to the sports mode and accelerate from around 40 kilometers an hour to, let's see, let's go. 100, 150, 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, and soon reaching the top speed, officially 225 kilometers, like 140 miles, and we can go a little bit further 230, 235, 236. Wow. Yeah, it's not really meant for high-speed driving, suspension-wise. Although we have electronically controlled suspension, but feels a little bit loose in high-speed driving. Definitely not set out for that. Noise, installation-wise, you heard that was quite well done. It wasn't too loud, though. So that was actually quite interesting. This one also is equipped with active noise cancellation, which to me is not the best thing, because sometimes you might feel you have like a vacuum next to your ear or something. It's not that strong here in this vehicle, so shouldn't be afraid of that. In other vehicles, for example, in Mercedes S-Class Maybach or in the Ford Kuga, there I felt it was like too much. You know, here I think they found a quite good solution for that. In the Sport mode, by the way, also the bolsters are a little bit stronger than here in the tunnel. Well, we cannot see too much of the ambient lighting, because as soon as there's some light from the outside, you can't really see too much of that. I've set everything on the max level, and you can see you can't see too much. There is ambient lighting, yes, but not too much and also not too strong. That is actually not their philosophy. Steering input, let's see. I'm in that sport mode. Steering is always very soft, actually. Let's see here, comfort, sport. Yeah, maybe a little bit more resistant, but always really light, that steering. So the whole car doesn't convey a sporty feeling. That's also not what it's set out to do. So if you compare it, for example, to the main competitor, the Mercedes EQE, then the EQE is always set on a sportier note, just from the feeling, from the suspension and so on. This one here more for relaxed driving through. The normal energy consumption is, you can calculate with some 19 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers, so some 30 kilowatt hours on 100 miles. And that leads here, I have an 87 kilowatt hour net battery, and that leads to a real world driving range of some good 450 kilometers or 280 miles, which is decent for electric vehicles out there. You can score better figures if you really do 80, 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, motorway, cruise control, that's it, or city driving only. Remember, combustion engines are always less efficient in the city. The EVs are always more efficient in the city. So EVs have lower average consumption figures if you go city only, whereas combustion engines have higher consumption figures city only. And on the motorway, it's basically then the other way around. That's very interesting, especially when the higher the speed goes, actually. So overall, it still conveys driving fun. It is really spontaneous from that acceleration. It is quicker than the combustion engine brothers. Here 4.9 seconds in the acceleration figure to 1 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. So it is fun to drive, yes, but steering feel, as I said, is a little bit vague. Then the car also doesn't feel sporty as for suspension, but it feels comfortable. And that's an important thing about this vehicle. That's also the main goal, that it's comfortable, and the suspension is comfortable indeed. So it evens out the bumps very well. So I'm really happy with the suspension, and it's totally okay that the emphasis of this vehicle is not sportiness, but rather this gliding effect. We'll do one more time higher speed driving here on the German Autobahn after that tunnel again. One thing I do notice while driving is definitely once again the seating position, which is a little bit awkward in the EV version. It's definitely, to me, because of the higher seating position, less comfortable than the ICE brother, also while driving. And indeed, it does irritate me while driving that I'm so close to the ceiling here with my head. So I would definitely stick with the combustion engine version of this G80 as for the seating comfort. At my height, maybe if you're not as tall as me, it might not be such a problem and you won't notice it that much, or you might think, hey, maybe it's even good that I'm sitting a little bit higher, but for tall people, not ideal. When we're already at speed, 80 kilometers an hour, how does the car behave in acceleration? Let's go. Strong. 130, 150, 170, 180, yeah, It's really cool. And then let's switch the lane. Yeah, it doesn't give me the best feeling of the vehicle. I mean, we are at really high speeds here, but wow, super silent here, although almost, again, 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. That is very well done, and it's very comfortable. Just not that sporty, and that's fine, you know, but we're testing here the vehicles that you actually know what to expect. And I have to say, the EQE is sportier in the driving, suspension-wise, and so on, better steering feel. But the seats in the EQE are also not that good, actually. But I must say, the combustion engine seats here of the G80 are even better. This one here equipped with all-wheel drive, because we have one electric motor in the front, one electric motor in the rear, and the distribution here is actually quite equal. So most of the time you have then a 50-50 distribution. That means it doesn't have any bias as for front or rear wheel. That's also an interesting thing. So also when we accelerate it, quite likable. You also, I'm not sure if you've seen it on camera earlier, when we did the acceleration, it was really like going like a boat, you know. Very interesting because the suspension is so soft. What else is missing here in this driving part is the agile driving. We're going in some winding corners. We know that this is not the expert thing of this vehicle. Still, we want to find out more about that once again then in the sports mode and see how it handles the very narrow corners. And here we go, sports mode once again. Wow, yeah, strong acceleration always. Hard to see, and also here with the shadows, always have to pay attention. Yeah, that A-pillar is also quite thick to see. Now here you have to see I have to steer a lot with this vehicle. Yeah, this acceleration out of the corner is super strong. Left and right slalom. Yeah, suspension doesn't shake up too much. It's more like this front back roll that is stronger than the other one. Here I have to steer a lot. That makes it also less agile, but out of the corners is beautiful indeed. So that's really a nice agility factor of this vehicle when you are even in these, you know, narrow corners, that you accelerate out and you immediately have a great boost. Never seen a truck on this track here. So here, once again, bang, yeah, that's really nice here, also in this S combination. Yeah, and here also, I wouldn't have expected that. So at high speeds, there was more body roll and so on. And usually would expect that the agile corner is an even less fun, but I have to say, this vehicle here, although it's so large, and has a turning circle of a tractor, like 12 meters, it's surprisingly fun in these narrow corners. Interesting finding for today indeed. So that low center of gravity then, with the battery pack underneath, that did cost us headroom, helps here in the agile performance. Nice. Now, of course, you should check out the direct competitor, Mercedes EQE. And if you're more interested in this vehicle here, but without the EV badge, then the G80 and the combustion engine tune in there.